Mohammed had a moment to sit on the lead of majority seat for a few minutes to an hour thereabout. Let's listen to him what he had to say to the Speaker.
Ambiguity and doubt that the majority leader in the National Assembly is Honorable Junet Mohammed, the Member of Parliament for Suna, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker. And I am going to serve the country diligently, Mr. Speaker, without any fear and favor, Mr. Speaker. I am a seasoned politician. I am serving my third term in Parliament, Mr. Speaker. I know how Parliament operates. I know how Parliament does its work, and I understand how bills are done in this Parliament, Mr. Speaker. I have gained enough experience. So this mindset, Mr. Speaker, this mindset that the ruling party must have majority in Parliament for them to do the executive work of the country, Mr. Speaker, that mindset must be gotten rid of, Mr. Speaker.
That was the leader of minority. He sounds like he was almost taking the oath of office that he's qualified to do so. But Bonyo, what do you make of these events? We'll shortly be listening to the voices of political parties that on the night of election were in Azimio, but on the afternoon of Tuesday, they were telling the Speaker different things.
First of all, let me say that Speaker Kenneth Marende set the bar too high. And since then, I don't think he's met a match in Parliament, either in leadership or in the organization and running affairs of Parliament. What we see there is completely something that should not be happening in a democracy such as ours. But because, like I said last week, our politicians are a bad example to everybody, is simply doing bad manners with the Constitution and with the law. Because the court gave a pronouncement, and in mature democracies, what ought to have followed was implementation. But then we have people still arguing out in Parliament, but not doing so to enrich the process of constitutionalism. They're doing it so that either to play to the gallery or to probably fulfill certain political rights. Because you listen to Junet Mohammed speak, you listen to Kimani Ichung'wah speak, and the entire parliamentary leadership, and even the members of Parliament, then you're left asking yourself, do they mean every word that they speak on the same? Unfortunately not, because they say it, and they say it in jest. Why am I saying so? I'm saying so simply because you look at that petition that was presented in court, and you look at the determination sum, and it was clear like day and night what ought to have happened.
Right.
But here we are. The Speaker makes a ruling afterwards that only cements his position in Parliament and justifies his political leanings. So you left wondering, what other determination of the courts of law will be put aside as people take political sides in such kind of situations?
Let's listen to the Speaker himself when he made that decision so that we can put this into context. Remember that there was a High Court decision that had found the ruling of the Speaker in October 2022 to be unconstitutional, and he needed to make a new ruling. Here is what he found this time.
From the Registrar of Political Parties did also convey that 5 parties had exited the Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Coalition Party, namely the People's Liberation Party, formerly the National Rainbow Coalition Kenya, on 6th December 2024, Maendeleo Chapchap Party on 25th January 2024, Devolution Empowerment Party on 11th April 2023, United Democratic Movement on 22nd November 2023, and Pamoja African Alliance on 27th February 2023. Suffice to mention, members, that the People's Liberation Party, formerly National Labour Coalition, does not have representation in this House.
All right, so that was the Speaker, but he had also made he eventually made a comment about the MDG party that is led by David Ochieng. David Ochieng spoke on Tuesday and he told the Speaker this.
Who is minority and majority, Mr. Speaker, moves like a pendulum depending on who has left which coalition. So you cannot tell us that that decision is made once only in the election, Mr. Speaker. And that's why the judges are wrong on this matter, Mr. Speaker. Number two, Mr. Speaker, very important, Mr. Speaker, it's very important to note, Mr. Speaker, that the day you made this decision, Mr. Speaker, the day you decided on this matter, you had facts before you. You had evidence before you telling you that UDM has left Azimio. MDG has left Azimio. UDM, MDG, NCPP, PA, you had those facts before you. You couldn't ignore those facts. You can't ignore them. Even in this, Mr. Speaker.
Very passionate of him. Now, still the Speaker says that he's yet to finalize the process of leaving Azimio. What does this tell us?
Now, it just tells us that we adopted a constitutional arrangement that we are not capable of implementing. It has been said a number of times that our current constitutional dispensation when it comes to how we've organized both the executive and the legislature is structured along what we have in the United States. Now, and in line with the finding of the High Court, the three judges had actually stated that the matter of minority and majority is decided at the ballot. On the day the election results are out, you know who voted for who and how many MPs came in which party or coalition. And so it should not be really a matter that should be subjected to some other debate where the Speaker is supposed to make a ruling. If we think we took this from the US, then have we ever seen the absurdity of the Speaker now declaring that this is the majority or that is the minority? It is a decision, that's what the court said, in, I think in order number 2, that the decision of who the minority or majority party is decided at the ballot. The moment the results come out, count those seats as they came, and that is how you proceed to declare which party takes the majority and takes the minority. But of course, this is, we're here because of the hangover of single party mentality, where you should have the president and the party that is ruling being the majority. It should be the Speaker, the Chief Justice. It should be, you know, it's total dominance. This is single party mentality that is disturbing the mindset of Parliament, because the House, if we are trying to say the model we adopted is out of the US, the House is actually at some point, let me say at some point, but in most cases it ought to be independent, to check the executive and to also oversight other matters in terms of governance. But what we have here, we have a subservient House. This is, I've had some call it an extension of State House. I call it a servant quarters of State House, because it does all the biddings of State House. Not long ago, they used to meet in a tent at State House. I think they were moved because of the renovation that is going on there or whatever. But that is not the independence that we expect to see of a House that is envisioned by the Constitution of Kenya 2010. Right. There is so much in terms of the reforms that Constitution brought that the current generation of politicians are totally incapable of living by. Lastly, the issue of institutionalism. You know, I saw David Ocheng, who leads and follows MDG. It's a leader in the MDG party. You know, saying there's nothing wrong in switching places. There is something wrong in that, right. Because what were the people telling you at the time of the election? Were they electing you because you can switch sides at any moment? You are bound by the decision they took at the ballot. What identity did you take to your voters when they were electing you? I mean, you could have as well told them that you want to run as a Kenya Kwanza candidate and not an Azimio coalition candidate. Make it clear, because when you go to Parliament and you've gone in the name of one coalition, but then switch places, that is conmanship, but again, not really out of place in Parliament.
So if these members had chosen Kenya Kwanza coalition at that time of the election, would they be in the House?
If they, sorry.
If they had chosen the Kenya Kwanza side on the night of the election...
No, they couldn't.
No.
Yeah,
No.
that is why I'm bringing up the element of conmanship, fraud.
Right.
Because you, false misrepresentation. Yeah, where you're actually presenting yourself as somebody that you're not. Yeah.
Let's listen, Sheila, let's listen to Kimani Ichung'wah, the leader of majority, for a second time. What he had to say about those political parties that were being claimed to still be in Azimio, but they had expressed themselves that they are no longer in Azimio.
With the court, because those 14 members enjoy certain inalienable rights to enjoy their rights of association, to associate with the political coalition they desired. And they told us, the Honorable Speaker, letters were tabled, including letters, Honorable Speaker, that I have seen from the Registrar of Political Parties, ascertaining that MDDG, UDM, PA, Maendeleo Chap have left Azimio. The leader of Jubilee Party in this House, Honorable Speaker, the Honorable Sabina Chege, has today enjoys a position as a whip of an independent parliamentary political party called Jubilee. On that basis, Honorable Speaker, Jubilee then cannot and shall not and shall never be counted as part of Azimio.
I do not believe that whipping the Jubilee Party is one of the ranking orders identified by the Constitution. But Sabina Chege was once Deputy Minority Whip. And she spoke on Tuesday saying this.
Simple mathematics, if people are doubting, we can do mlolongo as Nyayo's time. We can do the calculation on who is on Kenya Kwanza, who is on Azimio, and make a decision, Mr. Speaker. Instead of wasting time, Mr. Speaker, on precious time where you're supposed to be passing important bills in this republic. Then, Mr. Speaker, finally, there is broad-based government. So where do we stand?
Thank you.
A very interesting question. Maybe genuine, maybe not. So here we are. Facts are supposed to be verifiable. If you tell people to just queue and mujihesabu, how do you verify? How do you take that to court?
But maybe Sam, we need to do that mlolongo, so that we can see the politically unfaithful, the members of parliament who lack political integrity and morality. Because for me, it's one thing to get elected by one party or in one coalition, and then days after you have shifted allegiances or alliances because you want to be closer to the seat of power. I don't know that it is to be able to extract more or what goodies you get, but that is what has been happening in this country. And it's something that needs to be fixed, because for me, it's quite disturbing, the lack of political ideology, that today you see someone professing and expressing their conviction in one party, and the next they're in a totally different political arrangement. But what is also quite disturbing for me is that the head of a critical arm of government like Parliament can openly defy a court ruling. Because for me, that sets a very disturbing pattern and a path towards impunity. Already there have been concerns around the how institutions and individuals have obeyed court orders. Because for me, what I would have expected is that you have the right to appeal the ruling. You know, seek a stay order, appeal that ruling, rather than come and challenge it in Parliament and want to maintain the status quo when an important observation has been made around, you know, who's the leader and who's the leader of majority or minority. And I recall at the onset of multi-party democracy, Linus, you're the one who has a very good memory. I think the other ones are millennials or Gen Zs on the table. But but remember when I think the first aid after 1992 and even 1997, the number of defections. And that was appreciated because people would, if you fall out with KANU or fall out with Fodasili, you openly defect, you leave your seat,
and go face a fresh election.
Go face a fresh election.
Yes.
But that's not what's happening. You know, I have maybe not a palatable word to use here, or I may be kicked out of the Citizen Studios if I use it. But for me,
we're within
to
watershed,
describe, to describe for me, this is now political unfaithfulness, and it's something that we need to check in regards to political integrity. But it also just stresses that key concern that we have had for several years. I think maybe since the last parliament, either 11th or maybe Mamia started in the 11th parliament, parliament has become the weakest, one of the weakest institutions. But because MPs have allowed the executive to run roughshod, and this is another example. This is just another example. This shifting of allegiances and alliances and parties without formally going back to your constituents and seeking, a fresh mandate under your chosen or new party. For me, it just emphasizes and buttresses that concern that we've had, that Parliament is weak. It is being used by the executive, and maybe this is the reason why, the Speaker ruled in this particular manner.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, and to illustrate the weakness is actually also down to individual members of Parliament. Look at the quality of argument that has been submitted there, including by others. Sabina Chege, when you refer to Mlolongo in 2025, Mlolongo is the system of election that was used in 1988. In 1988, Mlolongo was a very infamous system of election because it was a system that required voters and candidates not to use their brains at all. You have to completely disengage. Because the elections were decided by the president, basically. The list was of 188 MPs would be done, and that is the result that is expected from the Mlolongo. Don't tell the government about the length of the queue. Even shorter queues won the elections. And that is why when Mwai Kibaki, they attempted to remove Mwai Kibaki's MP for Daya through Mlolongo, and they said even rigging requires intelligence. So Sabina Chege needs to be careful about the use of the term Mlolongo, because it paints her really, really badly, both in terms of her age and political experience, that you ought to know that the country really moved to politics that reason. And in this moment, when you are dealing with a 71-page judgment from the High Court, it requires a bit more contemplation. Don't just talk.
That has taken more than 2 years.
And I think one of the most disturbing things about what you listen from Parliament is when a party leader is not sure of where they belong to, that you claim to have left a certain outfit. At the Registry of Political Parties, you know where you claim to be.
Right.
And you've gone round this country, you've canvassed issues in Parliament, claiming to belong to another outfit. Honestly, do you have the morality to be a party leader at that level? It begs a lot of questions.
Bonyo, credit to the Speaker of the National Assembly. He knows he's the Speaker of the National Assembly and chairperson of Ford Kenya.
And of course, there's a finding on the person of the Speaker that he violated the Constitution, and I think he indicated that he's appealing against, he's given instructions to appeal against that decision, and also on that particular matter of leading a political party, but at the same time holding a state office in the name of a Speaker of the National Assembly. I'm just wondering, what if Parliament respected the decision of Kenyans on the 9th of August and ended up declaring Azimio as the majority? What could have happened? What would have happened? Because we have had a lot of problems. Kenyans have had a lot of problems with laws that have been passed in the House. There have been questions about the Finance Act of 2023, the Finance Bill of 2024. There were questions about the housing levy and how it came to be. There were questions about CAS's appointment. Several serious things that have gone against this House. There has been questions about health laws. Remember, they had been termed unconstitutional at the High Court until there was an appeal against that decision. So what if majority side was Azimio? So they would have had the numbers fairly and squarely to even require the government to have a negotiation with these members of parliament. If you recall, at least I remember something, 2007, the parliament was elected in 2007, and it came with a majority of the members coming from ODM. What was the number? Nearly 100 or thereabout?
Yes.
And PNU had just about 40-something.
63.
Well, PNU is a party, but if you include the coalition, then it was getting to 60-something. And you look at that parliament, of course, it may not be without blemish, but look at the work they were able to do. They gave us a new constitution. They gave us several laws to implement that particular constitution. They established institutions in this country, including the Supreme Court, the IEBC, IPOA, and so many other institutions. And it is because of that parliament that Kenya is what it is today in 2025. For these members of parliament to look at it and think it's a joke, it's a big problem. And I think we need to listen to what Junet Mohammed was saying as the leader of minority on what is going to happen so that we can assess the veracity of that statement.
It is going to be messy, it is going to be noisy, and it's going to have casualties. I promise you. It is going to have casualties, I can promise you.
We know the first casualty.
Yeah, and we can see it is getting smelly already. From the way Parliament is being handled, it is getting smelly. We fear nobody, we owe nobody, and we stay at our homes. I think they are mistreating us, maybe because they think our leader is going to Addis. We shall be taking instructions from Addis Ababa.
So it's said amidst laughter. Do they mean it?
It's troubling some. And in the current political setup, all that Junet is saying is simply to excite. They don't mean a word of everything they are saying. Because look at it. This is the same fella that a couple of months ago told us he's looked at the government and he's never gone to a school that has taught him how to oppose what President Ruto is doing or has been doing. Then today, you tell us it's going to be messy, it's going to be all those things. I think Junet knows very well how to read the mood of the ground and play along with it. He doesn't mean a word of that.
What do you think, Linus?
Well, first, it's a messy statement.
It's borrowed.
It's borrowed from Moses Wetangula, the speaker.
Moses Francis Masika.
He made the original statement. I don't think it's going to be messy. But back to the question that you asked about a majority that is not controlling State House. Now, that is normal. That can happen actually in future, where the House doesn't have a majority. Well, the person winning the presidency doesn't have the majority in Parliament. And that's what brings in the famous thing called political horse trading. Parliament is supposed to be a house of reason, where you actually sell your policies, sell your agenda. You can rally parties across. That's why we hear of bipartisan. What is bipartisan? Bipartisan means it's selling across the aisle. So, but this arrangement really contemplates that politicians will be mature enough to actually function in that kind of arrangement. But when you listen to some of them, like you've listened in the previous clips, this is totally not designed for them.
Of messy and casualties, one senator is saying that he's happy to be free because he has been removed from chairing a committee of the Senate. Watch.
I'm very free. I have no shackles in my hands. I can speak my mind. The majority leader will not come talking to me like a kid, the way he does. We are voting yes, we are voting yes. Unasikia, we are voting yes. I'm free. If he tells me we are voting yes for something Trevor, that I do not believe in, I will tell him no. Trevor, yes, I'm free. Remember, I'm free. I'll tell him no. I'm free.
I must protect. No.
Yes, let me finish. I must protect. Yes.
I think I'm free to ask this question, because, again, if you look at the weight of the decisions that have been made, at the National Assembly, there are 2 cabinet secretaries that were rejected in vetting of the first round.
Yes.
But then something happened. The majority had their way. And those 2 CSs are now former CSs. There's another CS who was disqualified by the vetting committee because she didn't understand the content of her ministry.
Exactly.
Eventually, she's a former CS. maybe we could have gotten rid of this if you had to listen to what Senator of Murang'a is saying. Exactly, because I think that, and by the way, it's not just executive control, but it's also the control of political parties that the control political parties have on members of parliament or on their party members, because while you will see the president marshalling his troops to State House before a major decision is being made, whether it's a motion or a discussion on a bill. But you'll also see the party leader of ODM doing the same thing. They will go to ODM Orange House, and they will be sat down and told, this is how you're going to vote. So that lack of independence is across the board, and how we miss, you know, the parliaments that we had in the 90s, or in was that the 9th or the 10th? The 2007. 2013. That was the last. I think many people agree that was the last almost that had a semblance of. Well, you could call it the last parliament. Or maybe the last parliament. But in terms of it had a semblance of authority, independence, you know, and just a sense of public interest. You know, they were not doing things because a political party or the president said, no, you have to do this. It was out of reason. We miss that. We miss that a lot, because right now Parliament is not effectively performing its oversight function, you know, or legislative function, because people don't even understand what you can easily tell if you follow debate. People are not even reading the contents of laws or motions. I've been told, Nita, I will vote in this particular manner, and that is what I will proceed to do when I'm on the House. And it's really killing this country when you look at the concerns around debt, where we are in debt because Parliament refused to exercise its oversight function. You could say the same for corruption. Parliament has refused to oversight institutions that are responsible for the fight against corruption, and that's why we're here. Okay.
Well, not long ago, one member of Parliament said that he doesn't waste his time going to Parliament because he's busy making money. That says a lot, doesn't it? We need to make some money, and we'll do so in the form of a break. But when I come back, Sheila will be leaving us. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you. And we'll be talking about what is happening in Addis Ababa this weekend. That is the AUC race, where Raila Odinga is seeking to be the chairperson. Stay tuned. You're watching The News Gang.